the shadow of Mount Everest. There's only one way to get rescued, but the death zone is the most dangerous place in the world.
Damn it! If I can't hover, we're in big trouble. No!
When disaster strikes at the top of the world,
Oh my God!
a rare breed of pilots put their lives on the line.
Climbing, 110.
Now, Jason attempts a rescue at the world's highest landing spot.
If you get a gust of wind, the helicopter would roll over.
Ryan's mission takes a deadly turn.
What is going on?
All of a sudden, my oxygen system wasn't working.
And for Lorenz, it's baptism by fire at 16,000 feet.
Damn it! Wow, they're not getting it. No!
Doesn't matter what you pray to or what you believe in. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
The Himalayas. Every year, thousands of climbers risk their lives here to reach the highest peaks on Earth. But when things go wrong, a rare breed of highly skilled helicopter pilots put their own lives on the line.
Approach 90 Delta.
Operating from Nepal's capital city, Kathmandu, and the mountain town of Lukla, these pilots are the climber's lifeline. Captain Ryan Skorecki is just 4 weeks into his first season as an Everest heli pilot. Ryan's just received an emergency call. A group of climbers are lost and in real danger.
Gonna go find 9 Israelis. Was just given coordinates that cannot exist. So I'm gonna guess at what I think they mean and go to those coordinates and see if there's 9 people there waving.
They need to go pick up a group of Israelis that is at this location that I've never heard of before, and it's not on my GPS.
Do I have their number?
Yeah, send already.
They have my number.
Yes.
And they will call you.
They're gonna call me.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. They'll call me if they see me. Okay, fine.
I don't know where I'm going. I wish I knew. Yeah.
The lack of information adds another challenge.
2 of the stranded climbers have altitude sickness. Their condition is critical. If left untreated, they could die.
Okay, we're crossing the active present position.
Ryan suspects the climbers are in the Sum Valley, 60 miles north of Kathmandu. But at over 5,000 square miles, the valley is vast. And the only way Ryan can find them is by sight.
Oh, make sure we're on the right coordinates. 28 degrees, 7.1. That is what I think they mean.
I'm not even really certain that these are the right coordinates. This is like my best guess, and it kind of makes sense, but it's unconfirmed.
Ryan's coordinates place the climbers on an 8,000-foot mountain near the small village of Dunche. At that height, the thin air can cause altitude sickness.
Altitude sickness can kill you in hours.
As climbers ascend, there's less and less oxygen, and they struggle to breathe. Left sick and at altitude, fluid can build in the lungs and brain, which can prove fatal.
I should be right here.
If the climbers can get through to Ryan by cell phone, they might stand a chance.
Do I have cell service? I don't have cell service. That's going to make it easier for them to call me.
If Ryan can't make contact, the critically ill climbers will be left to suffer in sub-zero temperatures.
What to do? Trying to call me on the sat phone right now. I have 1 bar. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello? Ah.
90 miles east, Captain Jason Lang is at the helipad in Lukla, just 25 miles from Mount Everest.
Lukla is the gateway to Everest. It's where everyone starts their trek on the way up to Everest Base Camp. Oi, Phil.
Jason receives an urgent call from expedition leader Phil Crampton at Everest Base Camp.
Lukla, this is Phil. Do you copy?
One of his team members is extremely sick at Camp 4, and he sort of said that he won't last the night, so he may die. Altitude sickness, serious.
Camp 4 is at 26,000 feet above sea level. It's one of the most hostile places on the planet because there is very little oxygen at Camp 4 and above. Almost all deaths on Everest occur here. Climbers call this the death zone.
If you're at Camp 4 and you do get very sick, you are a long way from help at that stage. You're racing against time there.
To plan the rescue, Jason needs to know the exact location of the injured American climber.
Whereabouts? Oh, okay. All right. Yep. Keep 7,720, 25,500. That's too high. That's too high. I'll never be able to hover there.
Everest pilots like Jason fly the B-3E, a single-engine heli specifically engineered for high-altitude performance. But in this thin air, even the B-3 struggles to generate enough power as it nears its official ceiling of 23,000 feet. At over 26,000 feet, Camp 4 is out of Jason's reach.
It's just far too high. The air's too thin up there. It's unstable for the helicopter.
Jason advises moving Robert, the injured climber, down to Camp 2. It's a treacherous journey, but at 4,000 feet lower, just about reachable by Jason and his heli.
Keep bringing him down. Yeah, okay. Thanks, bye. Bye.
Jason scrambles the team to strip down the helicopter. At the highest altitudes, air pressure is so reduced that the rotor blades struggle to achieve lift.
I think we're going to end up taking the seats out.
The lighter the heli, the higher it can climb.
Front seat, back seats, and the floor.
Jason is finally ready to go, but there's a problem. Dense fog is rolling into the valley, engulfing the helipad.
It's crazy. Weather systems develop in front of you. If you see fog forming, it's extremely dangerous. The local Nepalis call it the dragon breath. The dragon breath has started. The weather here and all the way up the valley is terrible. I can only see about 20 meters here.
The fog means Jason must abandon the rescue until morning. The dragon's breath may have just cost Robert his life.
Let's hope I can do this. Camp 2 in the morning early. That was tough. It must be a very terrifying situation to be in for the climber. Let's hope he survives the night. Yeah, gut-wrenching.
Miles west, in the Somme Valley, Ryan is on the hunt for 9 Israeli climbers stuck at 8,000 feet. 2 of them have life-threatening altitude sickness.
9 Lima Delta, Kathmandu approach, report position.
9 Lima Delta, apologies. I am 27 DME, northwest Kathmandu, circling, trying to find this party for this rescue, but there's a cloud over them. I'm in the vicinity.
As I get close to the coordinates, there's a cloud just sitting there. It was beautiful everywhere except for where they were.
The coordinates are in this cloud.
Without a clear line of sight, rescue isn't possible.
Well, unfortunately, we need to go this way, where the biggest buildup of clouds is.
If you get into a cloud, by the time you see the mountain, it's right before you hit the mountain.
With fuel running low, Ryan's forced to make an agonizing decision. If he can't locate the climbers soon, he'll have to abort the rescue.
You're sent there to try and help somebody out, and then if you have a problem, then not only did you not help that person out, but now you've created an even bigger problem.
And on the Delta, I cannot find this rescue party, so returning to Kathmandu at this time, currently 25 DME Northwest, 2,500 descending.
As soon as Ryan touches down in Kathmandu, the stranded climbers make contact.
You actually could see me. And was I directly above you? They say that I flew directly over them twice. That makes me want to go. He says he has 2 very sick people that need to come down. Sunset is an hour and a half.
Time is of the essence, and we're racing against sunset.
Ryan is dead set on another attempt, but visibility is only getting worse. To take off in these conditions, this late in the day, he needs clearance.
You want me to try tomorrow morning? Okay, all right, I'll, if they call me back, I'll tell them that. It's tomorrow morning.
With light fading fast, it's just too dangerous to fly.
That is disappointing.
Now, 2 climbers suffering from life-threatening altitude sickness have to make it through the night at 8,000 feet in sub-zero temperatures.
I hope I'm not misjudging this, and then I go to get them tomorrow and someone has died.
A.m. Lukla helipad.
I'll try to ring him. Try to give him a call.
Everest pilot Jason Lang prepares to resume the rescue of Robert Kay, an American climber suffering from severe altitude sickness high on Mount Everest.
This is Phil, do you copy?
Heavy fog forced Jason to abort his last attempt. Robert made it through the night, but his condition is deteriorating. He could be dead within the hour if Jason can't get through.
With the altitude sickness, you're racing against time there. Sometimes we'll go in to pick someone up the next day and they'll be dead.
Dapasang Base Camp, do you copy?
Yeah, morning, Phil. We should be able to get through Fairshea and go and get your guy.
Okay, I'm having him at the pad with some Sherpas at 6 a.m.
Yep, okay.
And then going to Lukla for medical treatment, over.
Overnight, teams on the mountain heroically dragged Robert down to a lower altitude. He's almost at Camp 2 at 21,000 feet, just within Jason's reach.
We've got to go. Let's go. Let's go. Okay.
The rescue is on.
Landing at Camp 2, we are working at the extreme limits there that the helicopter will let us. Up to NBC Camp 2, I have 1 hour fuel. You know, the helicopter's there flying the highest altitudes in the world. Things really start getting tricky above those altitudes. Okay, that's on, oxygen's on. The weather's not helping, eh? Yep. It's gonna be a crazy day, huh? Oh.
85 miles west in Kathmandu, Ryan resumes his rescue attempt. The Israeli climbers he's trying to reach have now spent the night on a remote mountain exposed to sub-zero temperatures.
We are going to try and go get the 9 people that I tried to get yesterday that I couldn't get because they were in a cloud.
Ryan has no idea if the two sickest climbers even survived the night.
Good morning, Manly Delta's East helipad, ready for takeoff.
Okay, here we go again.
People are in a desperate situation up there. It would be better to just get everyone out of there as fast as possible.
Estimating at 0110. This is where I was yesterday. Unfortunately, from right here, there's still a cloud. Oh. Okay. I'm pretty sure I see them.
Ryan finally gets a break in the clouds. He spots the climbers and can attempt to rescue.
Yeah, it was really close to them yesterday. Very close. Oh, let's see what we got to land at here. Okay, now we're on the ground. Okay. Okay.
Ryan must act fast. The only cure for altitude sickness is to get the two climbers down.
We're returning to Kathmandu this is a rescue flight because the weather is closing in. Anima Delta is lifting from vicinity Ripchet.
Altitude sickness could kill you in hours. Just because someone doesn't look like they're near death, you know, it doesn't mean that they're not.
When the chopper came and he couldn't land because of some bad weather, we felt very frustrated and we lost hope.
So when we heard the chopper, it was a great, it sounded like a great symphony.
Take somebody off the mountain that really needs to get off the mountain, or they're gonna die. It does feel good.
"85 miles east, Jason approaches Mount Everest. He's attempting to rescue Robert Kay, a critically ill American climber from Camp 2.
Oh, we've had lots of problems trying to organise this Camp 2 rescue.
To save Robert's life, Jason has to land at 21,000 feet, the highest landing site on Earth. Only the most skilled helicopter pilots can land in these treacherous conditions.
The weather doesn't look too good. You got a million things going through your mind. That cloud there's forming there and the wind direction, how strong it is. The Camp 2, is the weather getting worse or better?
Robert's condition is deteriorating. If Jason can't land at Camp 2, he will die.
Any strong winds could push you out of control. I'll certainly hope it wouldn't get that bad.
It's closed now, but it will open.
Okay.
As Jason climbs higher, his worst fears are realized. Winds are picking up, and at 21,000 feet, this could prove disastrous.
Look at 9 Julie Zulu, Avim Namshe Sir climbing 11,000. All stations 9 Juliet Zulu, Ball Camp 2.
Jason's only 40 feet off the ground, but the wind's becoming increasingly erratic. Gusts blow snow toward the only place Jason can land.
The problem is, within a lot of fresh snow in there, that becomes extremely dangerous. You have to be very precise where you land up there. If there was a failure, it wouldn't be very pretty at the end. Nima, morning.
Copy. Hope you have a good weather up there.
At 21,000 feet, Jason attempts a rescue at the world's highest landing point, Mount Everest's Camp 2.
Good morning, Captain.
I have Robert.
Это Пилс, Клэнси, Робert.
Okay.
Jason has been trying to rescue Robert K for 24 hours. Finally, the critically ill climber is on board.
All stations, 9 Juliet, Zulu, Newborn, Camp 2. Andrew, you on this one?
But Robert's not out of the woods yet. Fluid is rapidly filling his lungs, slowly drowning him, a condition known as HAPE, or high-altitude pulmonary edema. Robert's survival depends on Jason.
Okay, I have Robert, and we're going to look at the hospital.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He did say to me a couple of times that he thought he was a goner at Camp 4. He really believed that this is it, I'm gonna die.
Oh. 2 days ago I thought I was dead. In fact, I think I did die briefly. They brought me back. Pain coming down from the summit.
I think there's a lot of sick people at the moment up there, eh?
We heard 2 or 3 may have died, but there's no confirmation.
Yeah.
I thought I was dead for sure.
In Lukla, Ryan takes another emergency call. Ben Darlington, an Australian climber, is suffering from severe frostbite.
Okay, Phil, so we should be there in probably, realistically, 25 to 30 minutes.
We just need to get this person with frostbite down from
Yes.
EBC. People with frostbite in places without oxygen do far worse. Frostbite is time critical. It's an irreversible process that any surgeon on this planet cannot correct. People may end up losing part of their finger or foot, and that may change their life. Don't take him to Fauché. Bring him here.
Lima Delta's ready for departure. All right, Lima Delta is set, course 9,000 climbing. Keep forgetting this part.
Ryan heads up to base camp at 17,500 feet, where oxygen levels are less than half that of sea level. Without his own supply of oxygen, Ryan would become yet another victim of altitude sickness.
Hey, Lockbutt, will you turn on that cylinder?
It's on.
It's on?
On, yeah.
It's not working if it's on.
It's not working?
No.
We're flying these helicopters that are not pressurized. So as we go higher and higher, it's not enough time for our bodies to acclimatize. So we have to have supplemental oxygen, or else we would run into a host of problems, like altitude sickness.
Yeah, I got it set at 4 liters a minute. Nothing's happening. Are you sure the main valve's on?
On.
Yeah. Nothing.
A broken oxygen supply means Ryan can't fly higher without risking his own life.
What is going on? He gave me one shot. Damn it.
Back down in Lukla, 38-year-old Swiss pilot Lorenz Neufer is the latest to join the rescue team.
That's a boy's dream, playing around with toys and gadgets and sitting in a helicopter. What else?
Before coming to Nepal, Lorenz flew rescue missions in the Swiss Alps. Challenging, but nothing compared to Everest.
In Switzerland, the highest peak you can land is still a lot lower than in Nepal.
Lukla from 9 Lima Delta, ready for takeoff. Course, clear rendezvous for 9 Lima Delta.
Lawrence is on his way to Chikung, a remote village at nearly 16,000 feet. The highest he's ever flown, but the altitude won't be the only first today.
The first time you have to go to get a dead body. I thought, well, I don't know how it will feel.
Body recovery comes with the job, but no one knows the story behind this death.
You have these mountains and a lot of people who would like to experience the power of these mountains. It is very challenging, it's very dangerous, it's not a piece of cake.
Well, it's probably first land and then care about our cargo.
At 16,000 feet, thin air means Lawrence must constantly calculate weight, fuel, and wind speeds to make a safe landing.
If you go really high up, the machine is closer to the limit. You have to calculate, is it possible numbers-wise that my machine is capable of landing there and taking off again with the weight and the conditions I expect, like temperature and wind.
At 3 miles above sea level, this is Lorenz's highest landing. But his mission has only just begun.
Someone is coming running. I can see people carrying down a body. The dead body is covered into a blanket. Namaste.
Lorenz can't shut down. At this altitude, he risks the engine not starting up again.
If you can't take off anymore, you might be in a very dangerous position, because if I have to spend the night there, I'm not acclimatized, so that would be very dangerous.
Lorenz has 1 tank of oxygen to keep him alive. It's fed through tubing into his nose. At this altitude, he can't afford to run out.
The use of oxygen was new for me. I never used oxygen before, so I didn't know how it will be.
If he stays on the ground too long, he'll fall victim to altitude sickness.
Okay, they're putting the dead body inside.
In these conditions, Lorenz has a maximum weight limit of 3 passengers, including the dead body.
Okay, now! I have 1 dead body, 2 people, and I go.
It's not a bus where you can squeeze in 20 people and 3 on the roof.
Always dealing.
It may sound a little bit cold, but I try to be as rational as I can, because my task is to fly the machine.
No!
I should not create a second emergency out of a first one.
No! 2 people, 1 body, finish!
With every second and every breath of oxygen,
No, 2.
Lorenz's life is at greater risk.
Holy cow, this is a lot of bargaining.
Okay, close the door. No!
Lorenz has just landed in a remote village on a mission to retrieve a dead body. At 16,000 feet, it's the highest he's ever landed. The altitude also puts severe limits on the payload he can carry.
I have 1 dead body, 2 people. Stop! First. No! Look!
If the helicopter is too heavy, Lorenz won't be able to take off. He'll be stuck, unacclimatized, with a limited supply of oxygen.
No! 2 people, 1 body, finish!
I'm very far from home. I'm in a country which I don't know that much. I'm at an altitude where I have no reference how the machine actually feels. So I want to have some margin.
Damn it! Why are they not getting it?
No! 1 dead body, 2 people.
Finally, Lorenz can safely take off.
always confronted with your own mortality, especially if you carry a dead body, and especially if you're not used to that. It made me think, people die here.
Next base 06, inbound load is one dead body.
Just 5 miles away, Jason races to get Robert, a critically ill climber, to the hospital in Lukla.
Amazing machine.
Yeah, they are good. They're a lifesaver.
Yeah, for me today.
I remember, even though I was in kind of a fog at that point, clearly thinking to myself, this is it. I was just thinking of my wife and children. And then I finally got to that situation where I'm dying in the next few seconds. It just became a fact. I honestly almost didn't care. It's like, okay, the pain's gonna stop. It's like seeing the cavalry coming, you know? It's like, boy, I'm gonna make it. This guy's here. Jason is quite likely the best helicopter pilot in Nepal. When the crazy rescue has to happen, he's the guy. And if anybody in Nepal can get me down, it's him from Camp 2. And it was thrilling to see Jason.
Get you up into the hospital. Robert was clearly critically ill. Here's a man who's got an exceptional climbing history. He's a strong mountaineer and he's done a lot of the world's highest peaks already. He summited Everest, but on the way down, he fell foul to HAPE. Robert, let's get you to the emergency room. HAPE is high altitude pulmonary edema, and with that, it's flooding of the lungs with fluid. It's the equivalent of drowning. So you submitted this morning, yesterday, 2 days ago.
And had no trouble going up.
Yeah.
But at back he'll be coming down.
In the back of your mind, you're always thinking, will he survive?
When I got to the summit, it was euphoria. Took a bunch of photographs, congratulated each other, a lot of hugs, a lot of tears. And then we took off down for the bottom.
Just put this on your finger.
Roughly 2 hours later, I just couldn't breathe. It felt like I was trying to breathe through a long garden hose. You know, you breathe as hard as you can, and nothing's coming from it.
Sorry. Breathe as you can, just normally. Altitude illness, you know that if it's bad, it may be fatal.
I thought I was going to die right there. It takes a huge team to save a life. 6 people dragged me into the tent.
Ben Darlington, one of the climbers that helped keep Robert alive overnight, is now in grave danger himself. Ben is at Everest Base Camp, suffering from frostbite so severe, he might lose his feet.
What is going on? The oxygen is full. I got nothing.
Ryan is racing to get Ben off the mountain, but his oxygen supply has failed.
Okay. Yeah, so something is wrong with this.
He's forced to make an emergency landing.
Okay, this has to happen right now. We're in big trouble.
Oxygen's massively important to life, and as you go higher, it runs out. It comes down to something called VO2 max, which is how your heart and lungs communicate, taking in the oxygen in the air and getting it through to your brain, to the muscles that are needed to get you to the summit. Most people are not able to deal with the lower amounts of oxygen above 8,000 meters, which is known as a death zone. And it's known as a death zone for exactly that reason. Some people will die.
Rescue pilot Ryan Skorecki's been forced to make an emergency landing midway through a rescue attempt. His oxygen supply has failed. Without it, he could experience signs of altitude sickness within minutes. He can't reach severe frostbite victim Ben Darlington, who's waiting for him at Everest Base Camp.
That device kind of sits right above my head, pushing oxygen into your nose. When I take a breath, I can hear it click, and I hear the psh. If you take a breath and you don't hear or feel that burst of air, then you know something's wrong.
Working? Yeah.
Working frantically, Ryan and his rescue coordinator, Lakpa, try to get the oxygen back online.
I just turned it on. The light, and it's flashing green, which means the battery's good. Okay. Now we're in action. How about it, Phil? Copy 9 Lima Delta.
Up at base camp, expedition leader Phil Crampton coordinates his second life-saving rescue in the last 24 hours.
Around the front of the chopper. Not the back, the front.
Ben has acute frostbite in both feet from the successful effort to keep fellow climber Robert alive.
Take you straight to the Lukla Hospital, okay? Where are you from?
Australia.
Australia.
That was impressive. Unless he told you, you would have no idea that anything was wrong with him. I mean, he was talking like normal, just like we are now.
So we're lying in the tent, and our climbing star comes over and says, oh, there's something wrong with Robert. So I've only got my inners and my boots on.
Right.
I go out, and he's within 10 minutes of being dead. But he's really hypothermic, and I'm trying to warm his core up.
Yeah.
My feet are under his sort of body.
Right.
Because the mats aren't that great up there.
Yeah.
The reason his feet got cold is because he was put his feet underneath the other guy to keep the other guy warm.
He was in and out of consciousness the whole night.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, I knew my feet were getting cold, but what are you doing? You're holding their head up to keep them alive, right?
Right.
Shooting them up. And then the next morning, me and Basan got him down to Camp 2, which was a long day. I knew I had frostbite.
Yeah.
And then, so I just left my boots on.
Yeah.
And then came down to base camp yesterday.
Walking on frozen feet.
Well, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's life, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you threw yourself on a grenade for that one. Kudos to you.
Part of it, I guess.
Lima Delta is a long left base for the hospital, 9,500.
Everybody wants to think that they would be so noble, you know? I would like to think that I would.
So Robert came through here and he's made a full recovery and gone on to Kathmandu. It's amazing. Ben saved Robert's life, and unfortunately, at what cost? What we don't want to do is get them damaged or infected, so we'll roll everything up and away, OK?
Yeah.
Right. Did they get cold after you had done the damage?
No.
Brilliant.
I made sure that I kept the boots on.
OK.
So this one's not bad.
Looks a bit white, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's Ben's other foot that's the real cause for concern.
It's nice and slow.
Yeah, got it.
OK. Well, it's gone a little black, and you've probably had some bleeding under the toe, maybe. But there's significant damage there, you can see. He's kept his foot in a plastic bag, which, although it keeps it clean, doesn't allow it to breathe. Can you feel the ends of your toes?
Not really.
The underlying injury is pretty severe. Most likely he's going to lose the ends of his right foot there.
That's Lukla when I first came off the mountain. So they're quite black there, and I think as it goes on, it's
There's definitely colour coming back into the big toe, but it's just life, huh? It's just the way it goes.
Ben kept me awake and warm and alive during the night, and Ben walked me down to Camp 2.
I saw the pictures of his feet. It's like, whoa, it's impressive.
There is no question. Extremely grateful to every one of them.
Next week on Everest Rescue.
No bags, no bags. You have to take the bags out.
Ryan faces a crisis at 21,000 feet.
This has to happen right now, right now.
Jason pushes the limits to save a critically ill climber.
You have to get this person down because your brain just will not tolerate being squashed for any length of time.
It can be catastrophic very quickly.
And Andy faces a terrifying blackout.